welcome y'all to Backwoods Obscura, a podcast dedicated to the lore, legends, and myths surrounding the creatures that may lurk in your backyard. My name's Hewitt.
I'm Chris.
Hey Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You ever okay, so we both have hobbies. It's good to have hobbies, people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever discover something when you're doing your hobby and you're like, "Oh my god." And then it brings your motivation from 1 to 25?
Yeah.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
That's what happened with me recently with guitars.
Nice.
Cuz I was I hadn't been since Thanksgiving, since I did all the cooking, I was pretty burnt out and I really wasn't feeling playing or anything. But then I just started doing scales and looking at it, and then my perspective changed. It was like, oh, this is how scales are. And I knew how scales were beforehand, but it just, I'm seeing them wholly differently now. And I'm understanding them in a way. It's like, okay, I see where things are going with it. And it was really fun to just have that sort of epiphany experience.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I kind of had that because I batched, I think, 12 bread knife handles. I just need to screw the bread blade because I made those bow bread knives. And I'm not 100% happy with them, but that is because I made them, which means I will be like, yeah,
I mean, you're always gonna find faults. When I was playing, I kind of fuck around with scales and chord progressions and kind of make my own thing. And I'm not trying to make Mozart's here, but sometimes I'll listen to it and I'll be like, nah, it's not perfect. But then I start really listening to it. It's like, well, it's something I'm making. And it's probably without, outside of my ear, it's probably going to sound a lot better. So, I think you're just looking at it because you're always going to be the most critical of your own art.
Now, what
craft.
What really has made me dig is I have a Arbortech turbo planer, which I use to carve bowls, and I've carved 2 larger bread bowls, decorative bread bowls, because I did use. Dear Lord, everybody on Discord is just going off right now. That's going to be future Chris's problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Is one of them, the one I've already sealed, has been sealed with teak oil, and then I sealed it with butcher block oil after going back and resanding it and recarving bits. But the larger one I made out of cedar that is 100% decorative because I've also had to seal a bunch of voids with epoxy. I mixed a teal epoxy or mica in with some iridescent, pearlescent.
Yeah.
So it really plays with the redness of the cedar to have this kind of turquoisey
right
color. And instead of just carving out a void like I have before, I've also gone and shaped the wood using the turbo planer, and shaping the wood to actually power carve was so much fun.
Was it relaxing?
I wouldn't say relaxing is the right way because I'm using an angle grinder with a 4-inch spinning blade of death on it.
Okay, when I say relaxing, I mean cathartic in the way that
it was.
You're creating something and you're building on you take a block of wood and you turn it into whatever your mind is feeling at the moment.
Yes, that is yes. Also, the fact I found out the handle on my new angle grinder can be posted on the sides or the top.
Oh, nice.
And when I found out I could put it on the top, it made clearing out the middle of the bowl so much easier.
No, I was going to ask you this off podcast. I've been using the cutting board you've been giving me. I've been trying my best to take care of it. Clean it. I don't cut meat on it. I only cut veggies. But I think after Thanksgiving it's kind of had like the oniony smell coming off of it. I'm trying to figure out how to clean that off and get it smelling better.
I'll have to double check that. I know how to re-oil it and I know how to re-smooth it without
because
actually.
I usually like clean it, oil it. You know, I keep doing that, but I think just things got lost during Thanksgiving.
Well, also onions and alums can that pungent odor can get into.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So.
Especially like during Thanksgiving, things get put to the side and they might stay there for an extended period. So
yeah,
it was probably my fault for like leaving things here and there, but overall,
we can figure that out. There's got to be a way to get onion fart smell out of stuff.
But that I've enjoyed that cutting board, by the way, and I've enjoyed the dice box you've made me. It's not here, but
I like how you held your hand up like you left it here. It's like
no one would see that. I'm just like, yeah, it's somewhere in here. But yeah. So, how would you like to learn a little bit more about Jean Lafitte?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's. This is what episode four.
Well, it's like four-ish,
four and a half because like we got episodes we've mentioned.
Yeah,
like he's
Jean
like
Lafitte in Exile and Lafitte's blacksmith shop. I mean, they're in the Lafitte area, but both Lafitte's blacksmith shop and Lafitte Cafe Lafitte in Exile, they're both places that only mention Lafitte.
Yeah.
There's no historical significance. This place has historical significance with Jean Lafitte. So, as you might know, Jean Lafitte and his brother Pierre were helpful in the Battle of New Orleans.
Yep.
In the War of 1812, I believe, which allowed them to receive a pardon from James Madison, then President James Madison for folk. I didn't say President James Madison.
Then President James Madison, a.k.a. the shortest man to ever be president.
Is he really?
It's either him or Monroe. One of them was only 5'3".
That's weird. It's like...
Which means they were towered over by 5'6" John Adams and Quincy Adams, the next shortest.
And what's crazy is like the whole... Like I've always pictured two things about presidents. One, that they tend to be tall, and two, that they tend to not have facial hair.
In this century, last century, and this current century, yes. However, our tallest president is still is a three-way tie.
Like with Abe,
LBJ, and Drump.
Really?
Well, that's if he's as tall as he claims he is, because he claims to be 6'5" or 6'4".
I mean, he seemed about the same height. We won't get into that.
Always remember he's going to say it's huge.
So President Madison, despite pardoning them and Jean Lafitte going up to him to Washington, D.C. and being like, hey, yo, I had this property, Barataria Bay, that was requisitioned by the United States government. Mind if I get that back? And Madison's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Here's a pardon.
Pardon.
I'm keeping your house.
I'm keeping your house. You're getting a pardon. Deal with it. And sad old Jean Lafitte leaves Washington, D.C., goes back to Louisiana, and
buys a blacksmith shop.
Starts a
gay bar.
Starts a gay bar. Turns over a new leaf. Revered in the town. No, what happens is as soon as he gets back into town, he finds out his brother Pierre signed them up to be spies in the Spanish government against the Mexican independence.
This tracks. Also, you know what? We're hitting into an area that I'm going, I've never been here before. Yeah. We're about to hit some new knowledge, Chris. Keep going on.
So that happens. So their first mission, I say mission, one of their first assignments was to go down to what was then the southern end, or the Gulf Coast end, of then Spanish-controlled Texas, and what we now know as Galveston. But then it was known, and I'm very sorry for this, Isla de San Luis.
Isla St. Louis?
Isla de San Luis.
Right. You didn't pronounce it that bad.
I pronounce it in a very American, very no accent way, but this little known island was sparsely populated, and but the current quote owner, or the current big honcho in charge, was actually a French pirate named Louis Michel Aury. We're getting back into me trying to pronounce like French names. Who was operating as a Mexican revolutionary at the time. Unfortunately for him, the brothers got there right as he was leaving to go do some business. Probably, some pirate business out on the Gulf. And then,
tax evasion.
Yeah, the Lafitte's got there, and they were like, "This is a nice little island you have here.
Be a shame if something happened to it.
Shame if someone stole it," and that's exactly what happened. So they completely overtook the island. They had, they had their boys come in, take control, and they pretty much forced got so many people on the island to defect to Lafitte that by the time Ari got back to the island, he was like, "Oh, fuck.
I don't live here no more.
This isn't my island. This isn't, I can't, yeah, no, this isn't mine."
I feel like there's just John on the end of a dark. Bonjour, motherfucker.
Would you like to come here?
$58 parking fee. I've been to New Orleans.
So
I bet you I can tell you where he got them shoes.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Now I have trauma from that because...
You realize that scam is as old as Jean Lafitte, right? You realize, like, some of the earliest recordings of that scam in New Orleans are the War of 1812.
I wouldn't doubt it. So...
That tradition is longer... You know what? Let me throw this one out there. The I bet you I can tell you where you got them shoes has affected U.S. history more than has had a longer impact on U.S. history than the Civil War did, or I should say the Confederacy did. By the way,
it has a longer history than the Confederacy.
Yes,
is what you're trying to say.
My son has a longer history than the Confederacy. SpongeBob SquarePants has a longer history than the...
Buffy the Vampire Slayer has a longer history.
Teen Titans Go has a longer history than the Confederacy.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe has a longer
history than the Confederacy.
Okay.
I think there's a snow cone place down the road that has a longer history than...
Like, at this point, most things have a longer...
Max Fresh Market.
God damn it. So... The Lafitte's, after taking the island, they decide to name it Campeche. Spelled Campeche. Or Campeche as Cam Peachy. And the island became a new base of operations for, his general bullshit. Pirating, harassing the Spanish, harassing... the British, and of course harassing the Americans.
Why is he harassing the Spanish when he was hired to...
It's Jean Lafitte.
He's like, yeah, you hired me to be a spy. I'm stealing your shit.
And at this point, this was a sparsely populated area, so they were just like, this is my new Barataria Bay, motherfucker. And that it was, and it became a haven for pirates and cutthroats from all over the Gulf Coast.
Sounds like we probably had family there.
Yeah, and actually at the height of it had thousands of people living on the island.
This is Tortuga from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Like, here's the thing. Like, when reading about Campeche, I'm like, oh, this is like where the whole, like, if you've ever seen like One Piece or Pirates of the Caribbean or any sort of pirate
This is the pirate city.
Yeah, this is literally the pirate city, and Jean Lafitte was like the head honcho there. Now, they said he ruled the Iron Fist in one source, but I don't having read a little bit about Jean Lafitte and Pierre, I don't doubt that they were like cutthroat or callous in some regard, but I always pictured them as cunning and sort of more charisma type people. They're more they're going to get you to do something by convincing you to do something.
They got that Riz.
They got Riz, yeah. But that was only one source that said that,
Skibbity pirate Riz.
Like, they're not like the big buff dude in a throne telling people what to do. They're like, I'm going to tell you why you want to do the thing you want to do. I don't
even think they would say, I'm going to tell you why. They're just going to be like, hey.
Well, you know what I mean.
They're just coming to you, hey, buddy, I got this thing. It's called Bitcoin.
God damn it. God, I hope the Lafitte's would not be into Bitcoin. They probably would because...
they'd make their money and bounce.
Yeah, I mean... Like, as much as, we like to romanticize the Lafitte's, they were kind of scumbags.
I mean, they're pirates. They're all about that currency.
Yeah, but... God damn it. But yeah, no, I mean, everything they did on the island was about them building up wealth. Apparently, he was governor of the island for a while. They even argued for sovereignty at one point, but, kind of hard to argue for sovereignty when you're like a haven for like cutthroats and criminals and pirates and
To be fair, our country did that.
Our country did that, but now that at this point our country is a big country relative to...
Well, no. At this point, Louisiana Purchase has happened. 2/3 of North America belong to the United States. No one asked the natives, which means... Like, the continental United States is as big as the peninsula of Europe, which, I'm a geography teacher, and I'm having to teach kids now that Europe is only a continent so that we don't hurt Europeans' feelings. Because, like, the Eurasian plate is pretty much fused solid now.
Anyway, during his time on the island, he decided to build a large, luxurious house that would become known as La Maison Rouge.
La Maison Rouge, the Red House.
Yes. There isn't too much about the house itself, except that it was extremely luxurious. Like, big house. I think it was like 3 stories. Very intricate build. And it had room for, like, it had a space for, like, carriages and stables and things like that. And also a cannon. There was, like, a spot where he could shoot a cannon from his house.
Why not?
Why not? So throughout his escapades there, like I said, he went after just about anyone on the sea, trying to make as much money as possible, and that he did. But this sort of escapades gets you in a lot of trouble.
It draws attention.
Yeah, and at this point... We're talking about 1819 when the United States was like, okay, motherfucker, we pardon you, you helped us, and you're doing this shit. So at this point, his days were getting kind of numbered, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So around 1820, 1821, the United States government managed to acquisition multiple ships from Lafitte's, what would it be called? His
Armada, his navy. Well, not really a navy. He's not official. His flotilla.
I would say flotilla, like, because he had a massive flotilla of ships at this point, and they were captured. The men were hanged, and then they set their sights on Campeche, in which they came in, captured a bunch of people. Executed them, but our boy, he's slippery. He's a slippery boy. He managed to escape with the bulk of his wealth on his favorite ship called the Pride. What a great ship! But not before burning down La Maison Rouge and like some of Campeche.
So he burned it down. He's like, I'm out.
I'm going to burn this shit, and then...
They can't have my nice house.
Yeah. Which is fucking hilarious. So, that's kind of...
I hope he fired the cannon one last time.
He fired the cannon, he just set the...
Then he went 420 blaze it, pulled the cannon.
Yeah, 420 blaze it, pulled the cannon, everything's on fire. He's gone. And like that is the end of the story for Jean Lafitte on this isle, which then became Galveston. Now, after Campeche was raised, from there, Texas eventually became part of the United States, and then
Mexico gets its independence by the 1820s. Texas, within the next 10, they start doing the Texas wants to be independent because do you know why Texas didn't want to continue to be part of Mexico?
Taxes?
No. Because a whole lot of Louisianians, Arkansasians, and Tennesseans moved to Texas because Mexico wanted to keep using Texas like Spain had used Texas. Mexico was the moneymaker for New Spain. So they kept Texas as a buffer to keep out the Apache and several native groups. So it's like, we're going to allow people to live up here, and if you get mugged, hey, that's what it's like to be in Dallas. But then they got a whole lot of Americans to move over there, and they brought slaves. And Mexico was going, hey, we're not super cool with some of this. And also, you're bringing, like, Mexico is very much still like, they kicked out the Spanish, so the Creoles, the colony-born Spanish, were like, we're in charge. We're the new people. We're the new aristocracy. And then they allowed a bunch of Americans into Texas, and Americans don't believe in aristocracy, so they started talking about like freedom and shit for like.
And then the Creoles were
for white people, and
specifically white people.
Yeah, and then a fight happened, and they killed Davy Crockett. And Sam Houston got mad about that and said, hold my beer. Now, this is a terrible way to talk about Texas independence, but my understanding of Texas independence came from the show King of the Hill.
Right. That's historically accurate, I believe.
Other than also in the Spanish War of Independence, they stole Santa Anna's leg. And then when we fought Mexico in the Mexican-American War, we stole Santa Anna's other leg.
Oh, cool.
Because he had a fake leg, and we kept like there's somewhere I think Minnesota or Wisconsin for a while they had Santa Anna's leg on display. Like we stole it, it's ours.
Anyway, eventually over the years, this little place called Campeche became Galveston, Texas, and throughout those years, most of what Campeche was gone. There was only just a little bit built. A few stone structures built where La Maison Rouge was once standing. And from there, that's where we get into the spooky part.
So we've got the history. Now we're getting the spooks.
Yeah. So, La Maison Rouge is a small, fenced-in area of ruins marked with a single historical marker talking about the history of Jean Lafitte and his buccaneers who once owned Galveston and how he used to live in this very spot. If you go look at La Maison Rouge, it's called Lafitte's Maison Rouge on Google Maps. It's just a fenced in like
Is it like going and finding Grant's Canal over a mound?
Yeah, so you see just some stairs, like some stone stairs, and you see like some windows or some arches, and I'm pretty sure, I believe those are not the original, those weren't part of La Maison Rouge.
Yeah,
those were not like the original structures. Those are structures built on top of it. And I believe below it there are there's like a basement area,
the secret catacombs of Jean Lafitte.
I don't actually think they were secret catacombs. I think he was just like, this is where I keep my beer or wine or whatever you drink.
This is where my weed's at.
This is my weed. This is my smoking room.
I was gonna go do some piracy.
I gotta. Man, we sounded like the whitest non-smoking people.
I mean, I am one of those.
Yeah. I don't imbibe anymore, but goddamn.
Except one of those for your joint pain gummies.
I don't even do those anymore. I don't like it. Because like for the first like hour or so, I'm like, this is fine, and then I get tired of it, and I'm like, I don't like feeling like this anymore.
My biggest thing is I'm still laughing at the people that ate the gummies in California's that look like snow or little ice cream cone bottoms.
Oh, yeah.
And they thought it was 100-calorie snack packs. And it was 100 milligram.
I think one of the scariest things, not to get off topic here, but the scariest thing I've ever seen when it comes to weed, it's a YouTuber I follow. I forget his name. There was like this candy, is Nerd's Rope, and it was a giant thing of weed candy that was Nerd's Rope. Like, and if you know how long Nerd's Rope could be,
it's like 2 feet.
It's like 1.5 feet to 2 feet. He ate the whole thing without realizing it was supposed to be cut up and like divvied out little by little. Like, you're supposed to, eat a little bit of it at a time, and he didn't realize it was weed. So he spent the next, 48 hours blitz out of his mind. And that is, one of the scariest things for me.
That sounds absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's awful. Anyway, talking about ghosts. There are ghosts that are seen in the area.
Are they eating a Nerd's Rope?
They weren't eating a Nerd's Rope, but that... Okay, so... Before you get judgmental with what I'm about to say, I'm just going to say this isn't going to be the same sort of sighting that everyone shits on, but there are sightings of orbs.
Okay, that's called dust.
No. Here's the thing. We're not talking about pictures. We're talking about people seeing orbs in or around La Maison Rouge.
That's called stigmatism.
I mean, it could be stigmatism. They're very common, to the point that people say they don't really pay them any mind anymore.
So you just walk through and there's
from blue to yellow.
So there's just ghost sparkles everywhere.
Apparently. Now, the reason why I give it a little bit of credence, just a little tiny, dusting of credence, okay? I know you're, furrowing your brow and all that. It's the fact they don't talk about pictures. They talk about actually seeing physical orbs.
Okay, now, this could be... I give a little bit with that, but orbs are such bullshit.
Yeah, orbs are mostly bullshit. They're 99% bullshit. I'm just saying in this instance, they might be seeing something outside of dust. Now, could it be stigmatism? Maybe, but people with the stigmatism know what a stigmatism looks like. So
yeah,
I mean, another big thing could be ball lightning or something like that. It's not necessarily ghosts, but I'm saying, yeah. Another thing is disembodied voices, of course, usually arguing, screaming, mumbling, things like that. But the biggest one, here's the biggest one. And we talked a little bit about this the last time I talked about Jean Lafitte, proper, is the Campeche Devil Dogs. It's supposed to be a pack of anywhere from 4 to 12 black dogs with glowing eyes that growl, follow, or just hang around Lafitte's, I was about to say blacksmith shop, Lafitte's Maison Rouge. They are said to be a ill omen. So if you see them, something might happen.
So Lafitte had hellhounds.
Apparently, they are hellhounds. They could be evil dogs sent from hell, but there are two main things. Okay, so one, Jean Lafitte had a voodoo priestess curse the pack of puppies, and they became infernal. I don't know why Lafitte would do that. And two, that they were Lafitte's, the spirits of Lafitte's vicious hunting dogs. Also, I mean, people had hunting dogs back then that could be pretty mean, but...
So it's like, these dogs pissed on my Persian rug that I stole from Persia. Curse them.
Yeah.
The voodoo priestess. All right, boss. And next thing you know, Lafitte has hellhounds. He goes, now I have hellhounds.
Like all the voodoo priestess does is like flip them off and say "fuck you," and
Next thing, little dogs have horns.
It's like, I didn't even think that was gonna happen. I don't know what the fuck is
Lafitte
up with
looks at him and goes, "All right, go pee on James Madison's grave."
But yeah, sometimes you'll hear, like, if you don't see the dogs, you might hear them howling. You might hear them growling if you're around there. And you might even smell the smell of wet dog, which is a fun smell.
Yeah, I am aware.
The
only smell that tops that is surprise shitty diaper.
Surprise shitty diaper. Always a fun time. But yeah, that is all about the La Maison Rouge. And about Galveston in general. Now, I will say this. The La Maison Rouge probably has more that you could attach a spooky ghost of Lafitte to than like a place like Lafitte's blacksmith shop, for instance. But I will say, like, none of the ghosts really talked about here are like Lafitte related necessarily. They might have been related to
they're tangentially connected to Lafitte. Like Lafitte's ghost does not show up at the ruins of La Maison Rouge.
It's more like maybe you hear like the pirates that he employed and such like that. But yeah, my sources are Galveston Ghost, Lafitte's Maison Rouge, the Texas Highway, the Galveston Legend of an Infamous Jean Lafitte, Grunge.com, and The Untold Truth of Jean Lafitte, the Pirate of New Orleans, and Ghost City, the Ghost of Jean Lafitte in Galveston, which he was not actually in Galveston. Thank you for listening. This is Backwoods Obscura. We release every Tuesday. Sometimes we're on social media when I feel like it, on Facebook and on what's that other one? Blue Sky. But we're also Team Bonus Action.
Team Bonus Action is a charity D&D RPG video game group. By the time this is published, we will probably be partnered with either the Trevor Project or St. Jude early in 2025. So if you donate to us, all proceeds will go to that to help kids, because we need to pay it forward and make sure the world is better for the generations that come behind us.
And thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day or night or whatever time it is over there.
Don't curse puppies.
Don't curse puppies. They're so nice and they're so fluffy.